people roll. Summer make you giggle right down to your soul. So talk to the world and introduce them to you. And look at me now, I'm all Barbara and you. You gotta take a step inside the shoes of another. Get to know your neighbor, get to know one another. So talk to the world and introduce them to you. And look at me now, I'm all Barbara and you.
Good evening and welcome to the Barbara News Show. I am so excited about this show tonight. We are going to give you some fabulous music during the show. And my guests, we've been rapidly deciding the order we were going to do it, and I insisted, even though this wonderful violinist can't wait to play for you, I insisted that we talk first and learn a little bit more about these very interesting people sitting next to me. You ready? Here we go. Now, I have to warn you, my guests and you, as you know, I sometimes have a hard time pronouncing names correctly. And I always introduce left to right. So that violinist I've told you about is Gregory, Irene. I got it right the second time. Irene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And next to Gregory is Irina. That was easy. And don't tell me. Hiken.
That's right.
I got through the hard part. From now on, I don't use last names. Gregory and Irina. I got it.
Thank you.
And I so appreciate the fact that you were willing to drive all the way here from, I know in Rhode Island. Where are you situated in Rhode Island?
On the North Providence Smithfield line.
Okay, and there's so many wonderful things in Rhode Island. But if you don't mind, and you won't be offended if I tell you this, but I'm going to start with Gregory, and I'm going to make him talk and tell me about your background. And prior to you being here, I read about all the awards you've got and all the competitions you're in. So can you take me back to when you first discovered that you have a rare talent playing the violin?
Yes, so actually I was born in former Soviet Union, the part of south part of Soviet Union called Azerbaijan, but I'm Armenian by origin. And so I grew up in a family with a long musical tradition because my grandfather, he was professional musician. He played folk instrument called tar. That's spread in Armenia, Iran, Turkey, and Georgia, and other countries. And my father, he was professional musician. He played kamancha, so-called kamancha.
What does that mean?
It's like I would say Eastern violin, but it's become even well known before violin, like 500, 600 years before that. So it's play. I can't show it, but it's play like this.
Oh.
So
okay.
violin we play like that,
right?
But they play like this.
Let me ask you, were you able to learn from your grandfather? Did he have a long life?
Yeah, unfortunately, he passed 4 years before I was born.
Oh,
my grandfather.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But your father definitely learned from him.
Yeah, he was. Yes.
His father. That's sad. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
But isn't that interesting that you're third generation, and
yes.
maybe even more than you know?
That's what I know. Yeah, third generation. Yeah.
And how did your parents encourage you? Do you feel like it was your choice to play the violin?
Actually, I went to a so-called special gifted school for musical gifted children. When I was 7, I was accepted to that school, and I graduated that school when I was 18. Then it was my father's choice and actually my choice, because even when I was 7 years old, I was prepared to study that professionally, and he was helping me on that. He was practicing with me. Besides, I had very good teacher. If I recalled that, like that time, I was lucky because I have very good teachers.
I interview a lot of people from a lot of different venues writers, doctors, you name it. I've interviewed a lot of people over the years. And so it's very rare that someone learns at a young age what they want to do with their life. And it seems like music has always been a part of your life.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so that's what happened. Yeah, so since my childhood, I was thinking to become professional musician, and music, it's almost, you know, I enjoy music, and still doing that every day, practicing, you know, and I was very serious. Even
That is so good, because young people, like, they see the sports stars, they don't realize that Larry Bird shot baskets every day of his life. Well, you know,
Exactly.
It's not like, oh, I think I'll do that and I'll practice next week. It's a discipline, isn't it?
Exactly. Music is like a sport. You did good comparison, because music is involved discipline, organizing things, attention, concentration, all that aspects, all together in one combination. If something like, then you can succeed.
And I'm going to get Irina involved in this too. Tell me a little bit about your own background. And I believe you told me you have a son who takes lessons from Gregory?
Well, Gregory is his stepfather. He kind of took on raising him. And Adam does learn with him every day. We're trying to get him into the discipline because Adam has a complex learner's profile. He happens to be gifted, and he's severely ADHD, a little bit on autism spectrum, and dyslexic. So because of Gregory, he learned the importance of reading music, and he started to read music, and Gregory actually showed him the correct way of how to hold the bow, which I guess I kind of know.
From observation.
But I cannot hear music. I can't hear, and so ear training and music theory and sight reading is kind of separate, but also together and very important. And I'm very grateful to Gregory because he takes Adam and kind of as an apprentice. When Adam is ready with a piece, when Gregory does get to perform, like at the library or maybe a senior center and stuff, he takes Adam, and Adam starts to play whatever he just learned or sing. So singing actually comes much easier to Adam, my son, than even violin does. But violin really helps, or any musical instrument, even piano, because it encompasses all your skills, fine motor, gross motor, and you know, it makes your brain work. And Adam also likes to compose, which they share something together. I know that you shared before your program that you had a guest who plays chess. So Gregory was playing online, and my son started watching, and we discovered that he understands the puzzles like visually. He never really had training. And so they shared these things, and I really appreciate him. And we kind of learned from each other. Before Gregory signed up to raise my son when my son was 10 years old, and he just celebrated 13th birthday. He had not that much experience working with individuals, or as Barry Prezant calls them, uniquely human, unique individuals who have different abilities. But working with my twice exceptional kid with multiple exceptionalities has led us to write a grant, unfortunately only for Rhode Islanders so far, to teach kids and give parents financial relief, for example, because it is so hard, and most schools can only teach such kids for half an hour because scholarships and funding. But when there is an attention problem like with Adam, you need the 45 minutes or to an hour, or you need multiple lessons a week, because that's what gets you the discipline.
Right. And I'll mention to our audience, so the reference you made is to our local George Marajanian. I even have to think about George's name, and I've known him forever. But George Marajanian has been doing a chess program here on FATV for many years, and he's won many competitions himself and teaches young people. But I wouldn't have put that together with learning music. And then when you said he's a better singer, that you mentioned your son singing also. I would think that singing, if you have a natural voice, singing, I believe, is always easier than playing an instrument. There's a lot more to remember. What do you think about that, Gregory?
It's a good question, but in some way, probably singing is easy to do compared to violin, because violin is most difficult instrument of all instruments, actually.
Really?
But to play good, to sing good, you need to get music education. That's considered not only vocal teacher who teach you how to sing, but music grammar, solfege, music history, music literature, harmony. I believe that music is like science. If something missed, then you can progress, actually, because you need to know all elements professionally. If talking about professionally, if talking about amateur people, yeah, why not? They can take classes, they can sing, they can play, but depends on quality. The quality is question.
So I just wanted to add, because I've brought my son to some teachers, and to every professional in any certain field, their profession takes the most skill, the most task. So from what I understand with singing, there's a science and theory to everything. But of course, when an engineer or programmer programs, right, they don't think about how much goes into it. And same thing what I found out with chess. You need to know the notation or you can't compete, or you need to have training. All these things take training, but my son, he has ear memory. They used to think it's perfect pitch, but it's not exactly perfect pitch. He will memorize the way the music goes, but he doesn't always get the perfect pitch.
Do you play an instrument?
No, I just live with them.
You're like I am. I appreciate good singers and good musicians because I have no talents there whatsoever.
Well, the appreciation came with raising my son as a sole single parent. He kind of threw me into it, and I tried to develop what I saw in him naturally, and that's how I learned. And actually, Adam led me to his future stepfather himself.
Oh, okay. He was the teacher first before.
not quite, but because also a musician, and I knew his family, right? Gregory lived abroad for a long time because of his former family circumstances. And he was raising his daughter, unlike my child's biological parent ever. And we just discovered that we had a lot in common. And it's not every day you find someone willing to raise your kid and also teach.
I mean, we've got another whole show we could do about that.
We should, when Adam comes back from French Woods Festival.
But I promised we were going to make this a musical show.
Right.
Now, Gregory, I often empathize with artists, musicians, very, very talented people who have a hard time earning their living with their music. And you smile when I say that because you've won numerous awards, you've played with different orchestras, but you always have to be on top of your game, and teaching is a part of what you do as well. How do you manage your time to take it all in?
I think it's actually, very hard in terms of make living because it's unstable. 1 month you got like concerts, then another month you have nothing. It's not like regular people going and getting salary or wage. You know, it's little different. If you're not full-time orchestra player, then it's completely different. Yeah, even teaching, it's all part-time. Part-time, little bit there, privately or in school, you know, but the students come, the students go on. Concerts, even concerts, they depend on financing. If they don't have enough financing,
that's right,
they cancel the concert. That's what happens.
Well, even with stage plays and concerts, orchestras, the audience doesn't realize the investment that goes into just being able to put that on the stage.
Very true.
Exactly. Audience, they see the final result, like of all that labor, all efforts putting in that. But it's not easy because, professional musicians, they need to practice every day. If they miss 1 day, then it will affect the skills.
What is your discipline? Do you have a certain time of day that you practice?
Actually, yeah. Even, I'm practice every day. Doesn't matter what happens, but I try to practice every day. Even if I'm not home, I take my instrument with me. If I travel for a short period, like 2-3 days, I take instrument, I practice in hotel. You know, that's
yeah. When
it's
we
like
went to ragtime performance that my son was part of, every day he had to get an hour in. And my kid had to practice too.
That is great. And let me remind the audience, you are going to get to hear him play not 1 but 2 instruments before we're done here. And I just wanted to let you all know a little bit more about him, and I wanted to know more about the 2 of them. So there's just so much involved in what you do. You do play with several different orchestras?
I just started playing with, I think, local Worcester Symphony Orchestra just recently. So far I had 2 concerts as concertmaster, and I can tell that the orchestra sound very good musician, very good musician, and very good conductor. His name Roderick MacDonald.
Well, and they used to be here, they used to be based here in Fitchburg. Now they're doing their orchestras, their concerts in Worcester at the Mechanics Hall.
Yeah, Mechanics Hall.
And is that how you heard about my TV show? Through them? Because
we saw their program.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
I was wondering because you know, when you got in touch with me here in Rhode Island, I'm thinking, oh, there must be some connection here.
And he did it by himself. He got in touch with you by himself.
That's what happens. And just like us talking about chess, so often on my show, a guest will meet one of the other guests, and they find something they have in common, and they become friends, and it's like a ripple effect that happens.
Even the song, the theme song, is so touching. It's almost like Mr. Rogers.
Well,
so much moral, so much
and that's
sweetness.
a local singer who's also a minister, Will Dargangelo, who wrote and performed my show there, or my theme song there, and that's the 3rd one we've had over the years. Gregory, I want to hear some of the mistakes that people make and how they can correct them. I was hoping to be able to bring my 10-year-old granddaughter who plays violin, and I did not hear before that it's one of the more difficult instruments. And she's thinking about switching to viola.
Oh, okay. Well, if you play violin, the secret is it's easier to play viola. But it's different, but he taught himself in 20 minutes. I mean, he has conservatory background, but that's a different story. He actually plays viola like the violin. Apparently there was someone else that did that and was really good at that before his time. Adam wants to switch. He always went back between violin and cello. Because he likes the sound. So viola actually sounds more like a cello. And I don't mean to hijack Gregory's program or your program, but we had this conversation that the technique for playing the viola is different and can affect your hold for the violin and quality for violin or viola. But viola is very similar. And so violin and viola, she can switch. They're both probably difficult. Because, you know, when my son was exploring, he went to Intro to Suzuki class. As a 4-year-old, came out wanting cello. Why? They explained because you can see the instrument, but you cannot see the other two.
She might not be a musician, but she's learned a lot from you, Gregory.
Yeah, because she see me practicing every day. So back to your question, and you know, in our time, I remember that viola, mostly, you know, violin students who grew up like in maybe some around teenager age or later, then they decide to switch instruments. Maybe because the teacher told them, maybe because lack of progress on violin. So viola is similar to violin, but it's not the same, I can tell you, because physical, the dimension, the parameters is different, and it's different approach, and timbre is different too. The sound very different.
I'd like to hear you address some of the things that you have to help students get over, or what is proper posture, how to hold the instrument, how to treat your instrument with respect. Like
very important.
Take good care of it.
Yeah, that's very important.
He keeps drilling that in my son and a couple of his students from before.
Yeah.
I'm sure glad you came along, because I have a hard time getting him to talk as much as you.
He's kind of like that. And he explains that art is inside of you, and music is inside of you, and composition is inside of you. He's a man of few words and a lot of bowing.
I think music talks more than people can describe. You know.
But anyway, Gregory, I have to share this with my audience, because I got such a kick out of it, because you wanted to begin the show with your music, because that's what you're comfortable with.
Yeah,
and you're like, do I have to talk first? And I thought, let's let the people get to know you a little bit before they hear you. See, if you played first, they might turn us off, and she and I would never get to say anything. So anyway, explain posture and why some. Now, if in orchestras, the violinists are usually everybody's seated, but if they're doing a solo, they are generally standing.
Oh, solo, yeah. Mostly they're standing, yeah.
So what's the difference, and is there a correct posture? And do you see some people playing and you want to go over and shake them and tell them, do it differently?
He can't say that, because then he'll be in trouble.
It's not, I don't think it's inappropriate, but when I see, like, when I doing with my students, of course, I try to help them. I try to, you know, set up the right way. It's very important, actually, the way you holding the violin, the way you play, changing position. It's all important, very important. But you can't go and tell somebody in orchestra, oh, you're not holding good. Yeah, no, not like that.
Well, if they're in the orchestra, they're supposed to be peers of yours, right? It's very different when you're teaching.
Yeah, teaching, and I mean, you know, when you play, then you teach, you learn a lot, actually, when you teach too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Even the teacher, yeah, you learn a lot.
Well, and I find in our schools, there's music as a requirement, whether you're singing or playing an instrument, but it's the teachers really only have them for this one semester or one school year, and they don't have to stick with it after that. But some kids, can you tell the ones that really are dedicated and they're going to make it big?
So it's hard to predict, but if we're talking about common music education system, it's a little bit different. You know, when it's good when you have that program in the school, but so kids can read the music, they know the rhythm. But in most cases, what I see, they don't show them exactly how to hold instrument, how to play, how to do technique. That's what I'm trying to do, you know. And I have few students which actually when they come to me, they say, "Oh, you know what? In our school, nobody tell us that."
Well, and I often wonder about, having seen my grandchildren go through this, how a child decides what instrument they want to play, because at this point, when they're asked to pick their instrument, they know very little about each instrument.
Okay. In that case, I can give advice. If parents can take them to classical concerts, they can see different instruments or orchestra playing, and then soloist playing. Maybe they will like the sound, and they start to interesting. And plus, I think many things depends on parents, because when parents more serious, the kids it's also serious. When something missing, then it's it's very hard.
But there are some kids that just seem to grasp onto it, and
Yes.
they like it, and they're not going to give it up no matter what. And that's the people that end up like you.
Yeah, but I was lucky because my father always direct me. He was telling me, okay, do this way, do that way, because he was professional, and he wants me to succeed. And even he just passed away 4 years
They
ago.
were very close.
Yeah, we've been very close. We talk about music. We talk about, this is very important. Besides process, you need to be involved in a real music. You should like music first.
Right.
The problem with the schools is they constantly cut the arts and the music. They need to understand, especially in early childhood education, how much it affects the brain development. And for some reason, they understand it about math and about science, but they don't understand it about music. And actually, I'm a rare kind. I never played music. My grandfather on my mom's side was a mathematician. But when I saw my child pick up forks and be like, Ma, pretend play, essentially, Mom, I'm playing violin, and he used, any public place we'd go, he'd take utensils and do that. I felt I had to embrace that. And it's been really hard. Actually, in kindergarten, I was already asking, when are you going to teach kids music, and what are the chances that instead of a recorder, he can do a string instrument? And I was not getting the answers
But
I would hope so.
I'm sure there's a financial situation there too that's difficult
Yes.
for the public schools.
It is.
Now we're going to take a break pretty soon to let you get ready to play for us.
Right.
Is there anything you want to tell us about the tunes that you'll be playing
yeah.
before you
Yeah.
start? And then we'll take a
Yeah.
break and I'll let you get set up.
Right. So I'm going to play some of classical music by Johann Sebastian Bach, some selection from his sonatas and partitas. Then I play my own composition. I will play some of my own compositions, and one even I did like yesterday, a new one.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I think I will play some popular music arrangements, like and Broadway show that Ragtime.
Can you do Phantom of the Opera, or you don't have the music?
No, I remember that. I can't play by
She's your
memory,
coach,
but-
isn't she?
Yeah,
she makes sure you don't forget
tried,
anything.
She tried.
I'm his
She tried to
boss.
organize everything.
I'm a volunteer.
Yeah. So.
Well, will you do me a favor when we have you on the set where you're actually playing? If you want to just let us know what's coming next.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
That would be
yeah,
great.
I can
so
do
we're
that.
going to take a little break right now and let you
Okay.
get set up. And I'm so excited to hear you
Okay.
play.
Thank
and
you.
don't go away. You'll miss something big. Bye. We'll be right
Hey,
back.
Lolo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
You're home before sunrise. On top of the house, the kids, and our future. The smell of your cooking is our alarm clock. My Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now so we can feel prepared for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need so we can live our lives to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Can't believe you're doing this alone.
I've done it before.
I remember. You threw your back out. How you holding up?
Hand me that board.
Nothing wrong with getting help.
I'm good.
I did it when Felicia left.
I'll figure it out.
I know you will, but you don't have to do it alone. That's all I'm saying.
If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence?
Now you need my help.
It can be a real pain sometimes, you know that?
Mm-hmm.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
I am George Berejanian, director of the Wachusett Chess Club at Fitchburg State University. Welcome to another edition of Chess Chat.
A special thing in store. The light bulb inside my head says, get out and play. 'Cause you never feel this way. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. Never feel this way. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. My lucky day. Don't need a pot of gold, a rabbit's foot or to be told. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day.
I remember when Fitchburg was the smallest town in the area, but by 1835, it had grown to be the largest town. By 1840 and 50, most Fitchburg residents had become abolitionists. Another early industry in Fitchburg that still continues today is scythe making. Women used to have to spin yarn and weave cloth themselves, but now it was being made in factories, cutting down and exporting its wood to build cities up and down the East Coast. And of course, for making paper. Starting in the 1800s, the population becomes much more diverse. Fitchburg Machine Works expanded widely.
After World War II, Main Street was lively.
And welcome back. And we're just going to go right to music, but I have learned that a really good musician is very disciplined in what they do. So we waited till the violin was all just right. And you're ready, and you're going to tell us about the songs you're doing.
Yes. First, I'm going to play Johann Sebastian Bach. That's some selection from his sonata, and this piece called Sonata Number 1, Presto.
apologize we don't have a round of applause for you. That is so great. What's next? I'm so excited.
The next one, I want to play, actually this is the last piece from this book. See how bulky this book? Yeah, it's called Geek by Johann Sebastian Bach.
A beret.
Fabulous. It is so wonderful to see how much you enjoy your music as well as us enjoying your music.
Thank you.
And what are we having next?
Next, this is my own composition. I call that Keep You Up. Okay, that's for solo violin.
This is the thing he struggles with, the titles.
Titles, yeah,
Okay.
it's easy to compose than make a title.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a keeper. It's definitely a keeper.
Thank you.
Okay, is there another violin number before we let you switch?
Oh, another number? Okay.
Yeah, yours.
So, right. Let me see.
Something that I like.
Actually, you know, I start with Bach, but what I did, every concerto when you play, they have a cadenza, so-called cadenza. It's like an improvisation. And I was decided to do one cadenza for Bach concerto A minor, based on A minor concerto. And this is what, take a look.
Take a listen.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
More? More? Tell me when you're ready to switch to viola. But
I will tell you, yeah.
Okay.
So maybe some popular music?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Do Bridgerton.
No, I can do like Elvis Presley, or I can do.
I love it.
You want to do that? Okay, I do that. Love Me Tender, that one.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Okay.
Oh, for real?
Oh yeah. Okay.
And Beatles. After this.
No, I don't.
We don't want to run out of time here, Lynn.
Okay. Okay. Love Me Tender.
Elvis would be proud of you too.
One would hope.
Very good melody, and I did my own arrangement for that. So, if you don't mind, I can play either My Way or Imagine by John Lennon.
Imagine.
Imagine?
Okay, she says.
Okay.
The boss has spoken.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't know what's the other one.
Yeah, I said My Way. That's what Frank Sinatra used to.
I
can do
play both.
Do both.
Yeah, then I switch the.
Then we switch.
Okay, okay, that's good.
that is Frank Sinatra's song, but wasn't it Paul Anka that wrote it for him?
I think you're right.
I think I remember hearing that. And that, to me, it takes a lot of talent to be the composer, and you do both, obviously. Well,
I did just my own arrangement on this. Yeah, and another one, Imagine, by John Lennon. Okay.
Okay.
Are you doing ragtime and viola?
That was all so beautiful. We're going to give you a little break, but we're going to keep talking. And he's going to, he takes very good care of his instruments, I noticed. Everything has to be put away properly before we switch. I know I had read that that Gregory's won a lot of competition awards, first place in many competitions.
Yes.
Have you been with him to some of those occasions? And it must be an exciting time.
So it is always exciting when he wins something. However, COVID and everything was online or canceled. He actually, since we've become sort of a family, unofficially so far, he's won 3 GMAs, so Global Music Awards. Interestingly enough, he won 2 bronze for the violin for like compositions I don't even really know, and for modern jazz compositions, and 1 elegy that he wrote to commemorate his father, and he sat at the church organ for the very first time, not the one with the feet like Peter Krasinski, I'm sure you've heard of him, plays, but the one that's electronic, and he played it, and it's still one of my favorite things. And he sent that one in, and he won a silver GMA for that.
Well, I was going to ask if he played any other instruments.
So the piano was his second instrument. Viola, which he'll play right now, is actually his third, but he learned that for a student with special needs who needed a hands-on comparison, because he was constantly asking Gregory, can't you play viola? You only play violin?
Oh.
And Gregory was saying to him, that's not my instrument, it's played differently. So somebody actually sent a viola, a student viola, and Gregory learned to play viola for this student.
Okay, and we want to have time for him to play. So here's what I'm going to do, folks.
Okay.
I'm going to wrap up the show for me right now, and I'm going to let Gregory just play until we're off the air, but this is with the viola as opposed to the violin. But let me first tell you who my guests will be next week. Danielle Ray, is the reporter of the Sentinel, and they have a new editor, Brendan Lewis. They're going to be joining me next week. And also Diana Sinkus, who works for Habitat for Humanity, and she's their community outreach coordinator. And that will also be a fun show. But I'm going to let Gregory just play us off the air. When the crew says we're all done, you may stop. And if there's anything you want us to know in the meantime, you tell us. And right now, I'm going to say goodnight for Barbara Foster, and God bless you, and I hope you'll be back with us next Tuesday. You are on.
Okay, so I'm going to perform on viola two of my compositions. First one is Adagio. So another one, it's also my original composition, Elegy. Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
if you want to. Yeah, go ahead.